Hey everyone, how's it going? Thursday evening. I hope you all are having a great one. And I don't know if I'll upload this tonight or tomorrow sometime. Probably tomorrow because I'm about ready to nod off for the evening, go to bed. But was just kind of perusing the internet, looking at some game related news, and stumbled across something that I found rather interesting that I don't know. Perhaps I'm just way out of the loop these days. I was not privy to this knowledge until just kind of stumbling upon it now, but I found it quite interesting. So I'm going to talk about it for just a brief moment. Um, the Unico, I guess that's how it's pronounced. Unico, the company that brought out the MVSX, kind of like an arcade one-up home cabinet, but I think with a little bit nicer quality. And yeah, it had 50 MVS games on it, which was pretty cool. And it kind of replicates that old school classic big red North American indelible Neo Geo cabinet that we all grew up with, which is just one of the coolest possible things you could have, right? So, I'm still kind of toying around in my mind with the idea of perhaps adding one, but we'll see. Anyway, the thing that was great about that machine, and I'm going to get to what I really want to talk about, but with that machine, it was what was it? It was like a 1280 by 1024 4:3 aspect ratio LCD monitor with some really good scanline filters. From what I saw, it was fantastic. Everything was scaled perfectly, and it gave you several different options. So I think it amounted to like 5:4 aspect ratio actually if you were going to apply the scan lines properly, but it's you kind of, I mean, it is a thing, but it's minutia. It still looked great. I mean, most people wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Anyway, the same company, Unico, they're bringing out, and I thought about this for a while. Why doesn't Arcade One Up? Of course, they don't. I did I did purchase a couple of their products. I was fine with the class of 81, no scan lines, but it's a beautiful looking cabinet and it plays fine for that game. And of course, the Attack from Mars virtual pinball that they did. Like, I can't recommend that one highly enough, to be honest with you, if you want a like smaller little pinball cabinet and you don't want to spend a lot of money. Virtual pinball is it's quite an enjoyable thing. I didn't know that. I love pinball, of course, but I'm not going to shell out the cash required for an actual machine. So it was great. And virtual pinball is a lot of fun. Once you get into the game, you don't really kind of realize that it's virtual. You're just so into it, and the illusion is great. It replicates the experience quite nicely. So anyway, Arcade One Up, yeah, yeah. Um, but I was always wondering, perhaps not them, maybe somebody who was going to put a little bit more time, effort in towards creating a quality product. What if they were to make something like these, sort of toy replica arcade cabinets, quarter scale, whatever the scale would be, 3/4 scale, I don't know, machines. Um, in the Japanese candy cab style, right? That would just be such a cool thing. And anyway, so this Unico company is actually doing that. Apparently, it's I thought this was such a cool idea. It's I think it's called the Blast Nova, something like that. And they sort of look like Sega Astro or Blast City cabinets. And this looks like, now there are a few things that I think are going to be problematic from what I can see. But what a novel, what a really great idea. And, it seems to be the case that as time progresses, they're getting closer and closer to creating products that, old school arcade enthusiasts would be able to appreciate and enjoy at an affordable price. I don't exactly know how much this thing is going to cost. Maybe a bit more than an arcade one up, but it is a lot cooler. It's an actual metal kind of little candy cabinet, but not that little because it has a, full scale Blast City panel. um, you know, and well, Sanwa parts, buttons, and sticks. So that's fantastic. That's awesome. That's really like what we want to get towards these things coming out on a mass produced scale, having quality parts, right? That makes the machine. So yeah, like a metal little candy cabinet with real parts, and it's JAMMA. I was like, that's unbelievable. It's actually there's a JAMMA connector harness, everything, and it goes to it's a 26-inch monitor. You know, this company Unico is selling like the 1926, maybe there was another one. So the 19, you know, for they're kind of marketing it towards, I guess, arcade operators who are still around if there are any, or just home hobbyists with CRTs that have gone faulty and there's no way to source new ones. It's getting harder to do that, and maybe you don't have the parts to repair them or don't want to fiddle around with it. It's a, like, I guess, I suppose you could say a decent option. So the 26 inches one is going to be the one that comes with these Unico Blast Novas. Um, Really interesting because all of these monitors have, and I really like this because they have HDMI input as well as VGA and I guess like your CGA, EGA 5 pin as well for how you do JAMMA and all of that, how you would do it with this type of LCD setup. I don't know. It's really cool. So also the controls, the sticks and buttons are all wired up to like USB connection as well. So that's really neat. So it's kind of like there are several different possibilities you could kind of realize with this machine. So really interesting. You could use it with MAME or like a PS4, Xbox 360, Dreamcast, anything like that, I suppose, where you'd be able to do HDMI and VGA, and yeah, that's kind of it's really intriguing, you know. And with the older consoles, I guess like your Brook adapter would handle the USB controller ports inputs to whatever, like a Dreamcast, for instance. And I mean, it doesn't really stop there because you could use retro consoles on that thing too if you use something like an XRGB or an OSSC intermediary as well, which would really be nice because that would give you scan lines. So kind of going back to like the JAMMA aspect of this machine, which, like I said, is just it's totally off the wall, outrageous that they would do something like this. So it must be applauded, I have to say. Kind of the issue I see there is, you know, so you're plugging your, let's say you take your CPS2 board, plug it up to it. So the JAMMA is obviously handling the picture and the controls. And then um, I'm just wondering, like, and maybe I'm just misremembering, but how would you get scan lines in a situation like that with yeah, how would that work exactly? Would there be like a CGA EGA adapter? Like, I don't think something like that is made, so I don't know. I'm tired and I'm probably misremembering things, but I don't. Maybe you could do something like use one of those SCART to JAMMA adapters, and I guess then you could well take the RGB SCART output off of that and plug it into something like an OSSC or a Microsoft XRGB 2, 2 plus, 3, and then go VGA out to the monitor, or with the OSSC, just HDMI. There's so many different possibilities. I guess that would work. Now, if you're chaining that far down the line, I don't know if latency would become an issue, but it's just kind of food for thought and very interesting. I think this must be applauded. It's really cool. They look beautiful, man. And you know, obviously CRT is going the way of the dinosaurs. Not much we can do about that. So a 26-inch LCD, that's kind of nice. However, that's where we run into some problems, I noticed, because I look at the resolution of the 26 as opposed to their 19, which is in the MVSX machine. So that's 1280 by 1024. That will work quite well if you're trying to put in artificial scan lines. But with this 26-inch monitor, it's not the case. So it what was the resolution that I just looked at? It was like 1280 by I'm sorry, the other one's 1280 by 1024, which is good. But the 19, but the 26 inch is it's like 1024 by 768. So yeah, I mean that we kind of run into the dreaded, old school like 720 p LCD panels, which TVs, which were not actually what they were marketed as, because in truth they were 768p. And if you know anything about trying to line double 15 kilohertz signal games up to like 768p, I've talked about this before. Many people have on forums. I think I've shown it in videos how it you just can't really line double it. The scan lines will be off, so it will almost kind of look like just an overlay that doesn't align with the actual sprite art, the pixels. Um, it just doesn't fit properly into that resolution. And as far as I know, to my knowledge, I've never been able to work around to work out a way to do that, and I don't think there is one. Mathematically impossible. So anybody who knows what it looks like trying to line double stuff and do artificial scan lines on 768p panels, it's dreadfully bad. So that's a mistake. Why wouldn't it just be 1280 by 1024 or something else? And I mean, who knows? It's because you look at the video board that they have with, and it's all in Chinese. So yeah, I mean, 4.3, obviously 4.3 LCDs. Um, as far as I know, in terms of being mass marketed, mass produced, that's been ages since you were able to purchase them. I had an old Samsung SyncMaster. What was it? I don't know. It was a SyncMaster T19. I can't remember what the model number was, but yeah, it was a 4:3 aspect ratio LCD, but that was like back in 2003. That one was really cool because it had a built-in Tate feature, which at the time wasn't designed for games. It was just for like, landscape portrait documents, different editing type of stuff you would do. But I kind of made a lot of good use out of it with my Microsoft XRGB2s and like the Namco games, which were in reverse Tate because it reversed Tates. So anyway, interesting thing. But yeah, it's been forever and a day since we were able to purchase 4.3 LCD monitors. Um, so Unico, like, where are they sourcing these? They just stumbled upon, it's like out in Shenzhen, China. There, like a warehouse full of them that they're able to source cheaply and put into these products. I mean, I guess that would have to be it because there's warehouses full of electronics like that over there that are just not being used. So, um, really interesting. But so I guess they're sourcing it that way. It is going to be what it is going to be. So I mean, it's probably not going to be the best of quality, and that resolution is strange for this application. That might be what kills it off. And then, like I was saying, how would you get scan lines, artificial scan lines with the JAMMA setup? I don't know, but you know, interesting. Like the applications I'm talking about that could possibly be used with the different consoles that do HDMI and VGA, or a MAME setup where the controls are USB, so they'd go right into like your Mac Mini or whatever. In my case, whatever you were going to use, and then you just go VGA to the monitor. But it's just like it's line doubling and integer scaling and doing all this stuff with like fixed pixel displays like LCDs. So much more troublesome than with 31 kilohertz, for instance, VGA CRT monitors, which aren't fixed pixel displays, and you can kind of feed different resolutions and create different resolutions with switch res X, and come up with the best possible creative way to scale things perfectly. With LCDs, it's just at least I don't know. Maybe there are workarounds now that I'm not aware of, but I've always found it more problematic if it doesn't have just exactly the sort of display resolution that you're targeting, looking for. So that could be an issue there, which for me would probably be a deal breaker, because otherwise you just have to accept the fact, like, well, this is a cool product and a interesting cabinet. It looks beautiful, but I'm gonna have to play my games on this thing with nice Sanwa controls and, like I said, a beautiful metal candy cab shell, but without scan lines, proper ones. So I don't know. It's something I'm gonna have to look into a bit more. And I do remember a while back that some people were talking about these Unico monitors and trying to get in touch with the company and having issues with putting them into their old school arcade cabinets as replacements, and they were kind of getting some dodgy responses from the company, like, well, the resolution is this. Oh, actually, no, it's this. Oh, I told you wrong. And just some shady type of not reliable things going on. So I don't know. But what do you think about that? Have you heard about these? You have to admit that they're pushing, progressing onward in the proper direction in terms of creating something that, old school enthusiasts would kind of have their interests piqued by, be intrigued with. So interesting. Unico Blast Nova. There were two of them. There's something else, but they're essentially the same thing. One of them has a flat top, and one of them, where the marquee is slightly angled. Um, so I kind of like the one that's slightly angled. It sort of resembles something like a Sega Astro City. So I don't know. Really interesting stuff. What do you think? Is it for me again? Probably not. I said that with the arcade one-ups, and I'm always interested in these innovative ideas. I did break down and purchase a couple of them. They weren't that expensive, and I had a bunch of like discount cards, so basically didn't cost me anything. But check this out, Unico Blast Nova. Whether or not you're interested in it, and actually maybe potentially acquiring one, I think the idea, anyone in this community, will be interesting and intriguing, and maybe something you might be interested in just taking a look see about or read up on. So that's my initial take on it. And yep, Thursday night, weekend coming up. Super excited. Gonna be a great one. And so I'll probably upload this Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, whenever I get a moment to do so. Take care, guys. I shall speak with you soon.